Chaitanya Rupoham Atma Ramohamevacha Akhandananda Rupoham Ahameva Ahamavyaya Shuddha Chaitanya Rupoham Shuddha Chaitanya Rupoham. I am pure consciousness. Atma Ramohamevacha. I revel in my own self. Akhandananda Rupoham. I am of the nature of indivisible, concentrated Ananda. Ahameva Ahamavyaya. I am the very self, indestructible and changeless. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Where is this from, Neelakantan ji?
Again is from, I sent you the whole, this one. This is from Brahmajnana Valimala by Shankaracharya.
Good. Anyone has anything to talk about, ask, doubt, question, whatever? I received a question that was asked by let me see, Anjali. So she asked this question, could you share the difference between awareness and being alert? While doing any activity throughout the day, we should be 100% aware of what we are doing. What if we get lost or submerged in the doing of the activity? So the question starts with difference between awareness and being alert. It's really a good question, because if you see, so many people think that this alertness of the mind is awareness, which is not right. Because mind can be alert, mind can be dull, mind can be delirious, mind changes all the time. So we say my mind is very dull today, or my mind is not that alert today. That is the domain of the mind only. It has nothing to do with awareness. Awareness is something which never changes. It has no degree, it has no attributes, it is always the same. So sometimes we feel or we think if mind is alert, there is more awareness. It is not like that. Yes, another aspect of awareness is that though awareness is the same, but then some things, through them the awareness manifest more intensely, and some it is not. But that is not the product of that being. For to grow any seed into a plant, you need the proper nutrition. Same is this awareness. Somehow, if everything is conducive to that awareness, it just manifests. One of them is that being longing for it, or giving space for it to come through. And it needs that space of emptiness, where the ego is not there. When you say ego is this entity which goes through this cycle of dream, wakefulness, deep sleep, the one which we call as experiencer. So this is another beautiful way you can understand alert and awareness. Awareness is that the unchanging reality, that pure beingness, what we all are, while alertness is a quality of mind only, which can change. So this unchanging is what awareness is, but alertness can keep changing. So they are very different things. Alertness is the mind thing, and mind is something which is needed for worldly activities, while awareness is you, while alertness is a product of the mind which you can see in front of you, which is changing.
Can I put it the other way?
Yes,
Can
yes.
I say that I know that I am alert. I know that I am dull. In that case, who knows? That one is awareness, and the alertness, and this one is the product of the mind.
Yeah, very true. Now, when we talk about this one who knows, that I know about alertness of the mind, and the one who knows is the awareness, we can get fixed in this middleman also sometimes, that the one who is alert of the mind and everyone says, but that one which is experiencer of this alertness or not alertness is also not that awareness, that is ego only. Remember, there is one middleman which we have to get rid of it before we can establish or experience or abide in that self, is this ego. Because very good test, the litmus test to know where you stand as an ego or as awareness, is whether you are experiencer or you are a witness. The one who is an experiencer is still part of the mind body complex, ego. The one who is an experiencer, the one which can go beyond, go back where the buck stops, where nothing can be perceived beyond it, is that pure witness. And you can check yourself every time, all the time. Whenever an incident or anything happens, does that cause repulsion, attraction, um, attachment, hate, whatever, these all sorts of emotional drama, how much any situation or experience create ripple in you, if that is happening, it is, there's an experiencer, that's why he's experiencing these things. Witness sees everything unfolding, but is only seeing. It stays as its own stillness without any change. So this is awareness, this is witness. Remember, experiencer is still part of the mind body, whatever his experience, because experiencer is full of emotions, full of reactions, full of all the drama of the world. It is part of the drama only, which in Hindi we call as jiva also, or the one, or ego, whatever you want to call it. The one who is also part and parcel of the five sheaths of the body, all intellectual, mind sheath, and blissful sheath, and all these things. It is still living in that ignorance. And remember, the ignorance never knows itself. Ignorance can never know itself. Ignorance has no clue about the witness. So when we talk from the ignorance level, from the mind level, it has no weight of anything. We can talk about all the shastras and scriptures, and we can do discussions, and we can win discussions, and we can be very good orators or whatever. But because that mind has no experience of its own in form of that pure awareness, it does not carry any weight. It can still impress other intellectual people, but it has no power to bring someone in abidance of that pure self. It has no power. And someone who is abiding in self does not speak one word, has not read any scriptures, never read, even bad with any type of language. If he sits there and you are with that person, it will just percolate. You will be more benefited sitting next to a sage who is illiterate rather than an intellectual giant. Awareness is so humble, so truthful. It follows either of the two laws, if I can put it in that way. Either it thinks everything is part of it, everyone is part of his family, or everything is him, or it treats everything as apart from it, including this body also. In both ways, it is the same thing. It is all inclusive or all exclusive, doesn't matter. Both leads to the same thing, that it is pure awareness. There is nothing except awareness in you, in me, in everything. And that is the reason it cannot have any agenda to help others or be compassionate about others or fight against others or anything, because in that light it only knows itself. It does not know any miracles, it does not know any siddhis, it does not know anything. Actually, it becomes much more unknowing than an intellectual giant. Though for people it might look that a sage is very knowledgeable, he has no clue. All those gadgets which others are using, he's devoid of them, or those gadgets become vestigial organs for him. So this is a very big difference, but nobody explains this. And the thing is that people start giving importance to that body through which that knowledge is coming, but there is no middleman living in the body anymore. There is no ego, there is no jiva. It is not that at the end of body that jiva will go. It is completely wrong. There is no one left. The moment you know the self, only self stays. There is no duality. Actually, if you see, once you know, you can't even say that before the journey there was duality. There was only ignorance before the journey. There was no duality. Duality is never there. It is only awareness. The one who thinks there is duality is actually in ignorance. It's not in that self. So he thinks duality, but it is ignorance. Bhagavan never said that you start with duality and then you find oneness. He never accepted this. And understand why he said that, because the one who is saying he started with duality, he was in ignorance. If you are in dream and if you are believing whatever, how can you say that that dream is reality? The dream breaks and then you only know the truth. So if you can stay as a witness to things, when you try with your best efforts to be a witness and you see that there is something pulling you into that scene with your less interest or lot of interest, Even watching that non judgmentally will bring you back more to the witness mode. For most of the people, this process is gradual, effortful, and slowly you recede from that ego state, which has a stake in everything, which only believes in self importance. It is never impartial, though it tries to sometimes prove others that it is impartial. But in that proving, also, there is partiality. In helping others, also, there is partiality. But more you start witnessing the activities of the ego non judgmentally, actually, you are moving away from it. And the activities of the ego starts diminishing. And then the time comes when the ego almost disappears, and what is left is that witnessing only. And that witnessing, that pure witnessing, there is no jiva, there is no doership. And that is why, if you see all the teachings in Advaita, all the teachings, though you might disagree because you are in that ignorance and you are speaking from the mind, but all the teachings, if you see, they are the purest of pure from the level of awareness only. And if you imbibe those teachings, you practice those teachings, only awareness will be left. So, though it looks odd to the mind, to the ego, those teachings, but if you just take them and start practicing, they are all practical. Vedanta is all practical, it is not theory. Some intellectual people have made it a theory and they do all sorts of talks, but it is all practical. Unless you finish yourself, you can't see the self. Self can only be known once you finish as ego, which is not an easy task, and that's why it takes time, because we have so much at stake. All our name, our fame, whatever we have collected, all this garbage, we can't leave it in just 1 second. And leaving is also not like giving away to someone. Leaving at this level of your mind, that you are the owner of these things, owner of beings, owner of things, this has to go. All this belongs to the body mind complex, all, everything. But body and mind doesn't belong to you. Understand this deeper truth. If body and mind belongs to you, then how you can be an uninvolved witness? That means you are involved, because all the actions are done through the body and mind thinks and does all the acts. And hence, the one who owns this body mind is the ego. And so you are the ego. If you are ego, then how you can say you are non-doer? Then you are doer. If you are doer, then you follow the law of karma, suffering and joy, and unending cycle of birth and death. Understand where the problem is. And you only have to sort out the problem. There is no one who can keep a hand on your head and say, Ashirvad and blessed and everything go away. It might go away. It might go away in a company of sage or listening to truth or going to some place like that, but it will come back. And what is the point of something which is just like an experience for few minutes or few hours and then goes away? That is not liberation. But sometimes that opening helps you to go on this path of liberation, and then you try your best to again get that eternal glimpse of that self. And so it is also important to have sometimes experience, because now you have seen that door opened for short duration, you have seen what is on the other side, though it closed because there were so many vasanas, so many mental impressions, desires, unending desires. But once you had the glimpse of the other side, now you can't, nobody can stop you. And you will try best to get rid of this egoistic mode. And this is like a self driven thing, it works internally, more witnessing, less egoistic. And then this separation, internal separation starts happening. It's like a manthan, it is internal grinding happens. And it is all the grace coming from your within you. You are the source of that grace. So more you witness, less that egoistic mode, more refining will happen. I'll tell you, if you are on path of a spirituality and everyone around you thinks you are getting more angry, more selfish, more egoistic, then please stop doing what you're doing. You are on a wrong path. If you are becoming more arrogant, people are more fearful of you. Sometimes people can be fearful of pure being also, because in front of purity you can't hide your stupidities, but that is a different thing. Understand, if you start feeling that settlement within, more contentment within, more peace within, and more acceptance to things, not a reformist. All reformists are people with really huge ego, because they want to change the world rather than themselves. The one who is on path of changing himself or herself has no time to look around, because it's a huge task. It's not easy. It is like going back home. You can establish yourself in self and stay there, but all these desires will haunt you, and it takes time for everything to settle down, settle the storm. So understand, this witnessing is so pure. You cannot call the experiencer as witnessing. You cannot say that I am the witness and then you are enjoying all the sensory indulgences and running for your desires of all sorts, and then creating a big drama around you and then saying, I am the witness. How can you be the witness? You are creating all this chaos around you and you're saying you're a witness. Witness is no thing. Witness is like a emptiness. Witness will nobody should even will not notice witness. So this is very, very important. This is what the practice is, nothing else. What else do you? If you are witnessing, then you are in total acceptance of everything, and you have no expectation from anyone for any reason. All the business has ended. Your shop is closed. Because what is the shop open in worldly people? I have done this for you, you haven't done this for me. Okay, I will do this for this person so he can do this for me. It is always give and take, isn't it? That is what this business is, even in what we call as love, in family, in relationships, at work. People keep showing their business cards to everyone, impressing, getting more titles or whatever, feeling proud of their titles, and I don't know, there's so much of drama. If you are not involved, then your shop is closed. No business happening. No business happening. So if you can stay like that, then don't think you can do all the stupidities in this world and then think that you will gain self. It is not like this. When you turn nothing, then what is left is self. And if you stay as something, then you always stay as something. So understand that it is very easy, it's very simple, but it is very difficult also, because people, though they know their time is limited on this earth, maybe 100 years, but they can't leave anything. Only things are being snatched away from us, isn't it? When the time comes, you live like this. How much attachment you have to this body or to the beings and things you have collected. You have to live like this. But until that happens, you can't leave. This is the paradox. If you leave everything right now, you are free forever. And when it is being snatched from you, you stay in this bondage. So choice is yours. You understand, you surrender now, give up, understand, and be free right now. So when the death comes, it cannot take away anything from you. It will be a joke for the death. And another important thing, when death comes, it cannot kill your mind, which you have already killed, because the mind stays alive even after that so-called death. You have gone beyond death. Understand this. Death can get rid of this body, but not the subtle body. You have gone beyond subtle body. How beautiful it is. Death cannot do that surgery which you have done on your own. Understand, this is much, much more deeper than what death cannot do, what you have done. So don't think that death of the body brings end to the suffering. It is just a pause. If you want to write another, like in the end of the movie, they say the end. It is the new beginning of new suffering. Death is the new beginning of new suffering. End is in your hand right now, if you wish. How compassionate that absolute is, isn't it? It has left you to decide. If you want to finish the story now, it is in your hand. But because of all this ignorance or maya, we are in so much of grip of it. We can't leave anything. You leave everything and you gain everything. You become eternal. And if you can't leave, then you stay. You live a life of a creature, who is so dependent on this body and its attachments. There's no freedom. Real freedom is in this witnessing. You start your day, you work, whatever happens. Don't think there is anyone is sabotaging against you. They might be against this body, but you are not this body. There are no enemies. So stay very impartial, very neutral for everyone, for everything. Even let's say people are against this body for any reason. Let it be. This body might have to pay. It must have done something before. You don't remember. Your memory from previous births is wiped off. Even this birth, we do a lot of wrong things, but we don't remember. Most of the time, ego always thinks that I am right. You know, Buddha used to pray every morning that nobody should get harmed by me, and one of his disciples, Anand, asked, why do you say you are so pure, you are so holy, you never speak any rude words, no bad action? Why do you say? He said, I know that some people never did anything bad to me. They were always good. And still I used to get hurt. So people can get hurt even if you don't do anything. Understand this. It is just their mind. So try to just be impartial even with the ones who don't like you or dislike you or criticize you. I'm not saying that you should go and hug them, but at least be neutral to them, impartial to them. Yes, if you are getting negative thoughts about them, then send good prayers to them from your heart. Then only you can be free. How can you be free if you are so much entangled? In either way, with your attachments and with your repulsion. Not just beings, even things. There are so many stories, if you read in scriptures, about someone who went to a forest and he left everything, but at the end he was attached to a deer. So in next birth he became a deer. So attachment can be to anything, not just human beings. Attachment can be to anything. If you are attached to something, maybe your house or something, and not to people, and you after death you will be a ghost in that house. It will be a ghostly house. You will be just there even after death if you're so attached to that house. In India we say bhuta bangla. There are a lot of bhuta banglas. Every city has one bhoot bangla. I don't know, I've never been inside, but must be someone was so attached to it that he can't leave even after death. So attachments comes in different shapes and forms. Understand. More you start witnessing your life as it is going. If something pulls you into thing and causes agitation, just watch it. And slowly and gradually you will start noticing that you are drifting away from everything in that pure witnessing. It is very important on path of spirituality to understand what is at stake, what will get you to there. It is not something like what we think in this world, because in this world the doership, that ego, may have helped you to achieve things. The rules are exactly opposite. Here your loss is your gain. Losing identity is gaining the self. It has nothing to do with even with your external actions of the body also. Understand this. You can try to fake, you can wear robes and do all sorts of things, but It has nothing to do with that. And it has nothing to do with what others start speaking about you also. Most of the time, we have misjudged people who are sages. Only after their death, so many times we have realized they were good. Or maybe few people have realized, and then that message is spread very, very slowly later. It takes time for the egos to understand that wisdom, that knowledge. Most of the time, at that time, there are very less people because the mind creates doubts. They think how this person could be a sage, he's doing this, he's eating this, he moves like this, or whatever. It is only later, sometimes 100 years, 200 years, then people realize, yes, there was something. Even now, if you see Bhagavan left body how many, 75 years ago, 1950, so 72 years. But if you see, it will be much, much more, because this knowledge which he has imparted, it's not at all a joke. I'm not saying there were not Vedas and Shankaracharya's teaching, but someone came now and established it again. Not by reading those books again to you. Anyone can read, any parrot can read those books. That's not an issue. He spoke from his self. Whatever it was not that he was consulting any book to tell you the answer, because it's all within. Even those books are written by people who found their self and they spoke, whatever the Q&A was. Because all the answers, because once you know what you are and someone asks who you are, you can tell. You don't have to consult book who you are. So be your own knowledge. All the knowledge is within us. And that knowledge is also there to let you know, but you have to go there. You have to leave what you are not. That is the reason why I always say that you start this practice when you get up in morning and continue till you go to bed. Though the practice, if you are doing in day, will continue even in your dream and your deep sleep. This awareness, this pure awareness is not sleeping, it's not dreaming, and it's not engaged in all these activities. It is only witnessing what is this ego is doing. These three phases are all of ego only. It is all part of your mind only. Because it is so much so close to us that we think that we are this. It is avaran, like covering. So close. Only your witnessing can create a gap. Otherwise, people can get confused. Awareness and alertness, they think is the same. Alert mind, they will take it as awareness. Or the experiencer of all these things, they can take as awareness. That is the reason I'm giving you clue by which you can know yourself, where you stand. Here, there is no lab or any person with whom you go and he says you pass or fail or you are enlightened. There's no one giving degrees here. If someone is giving degrees like you are enlightened, you are not enlightened, 100% that person is definitely not enlightened. Whether you are or not, I don't know. But no one can give any degree, no one can put a stamp on you. You are your own stamp. Whom do you want to prove? Or egoistic minds around you? If you are proving to others, that means you are still in the mind game. There is nothing to prove to anyone about anything. Just pure witnessing. And see the magic of this pure witnessing. I'll tell you, if you do it sincerely, one day you will cry and cry and cry, because you will have darshan of that pure self within you. It is so powerful. This technique is so powerful. No other technique can match it. Because we are starting where we have to end. We are that witness only. Nameless, formless. Not palpable to anyone except the one who knows it. Only self can know the self. Understand this. Once you have known, you will be so overjoyed. You will be jumping in ecstasy all the time. The body might be dull, the mind might not be alert. Who cares? You know that you are that awareness all the time. And death cannot take away that awareness. Death has no clue. Death will take away only the deceased body, which is also a blessing. Kabir says so beautifully, he says that the, the death what everyone is so scared of, I'm eagerly waiting for it. Be in your truth all the time. Whenever you move from witnessing to the experiencer who gets hurt or gets elated, understand you have slipped away. And just by knowing this much, witnessing is there. You don't have to report to anyone. But be sincere with your efforts. Your competition is with your own self only. Whether you want to stay as a small self or that bigger self, as a person or just that pure presence. So this back and forth can happen and will continue. And maybe initially, maybe nothing will be happening for a few months. But one day the door will open. There will be more feeling of awareness. You know, a sage, he is sometimes deliberately, he's very much into awareness. Like he never want to, for him it is a sin to get into any type of egoistic mode, though he can't do even if he wants to. But I'm just trying to explain what this awareness mode is. It is not your mental alertness. Don't take it with mental alertness. This awareness is that witnessing. Witnessing is the one in which this body and other bodies have equal importance. If you can understand this, then a lot of understanding will mature on that. Because that experience is only interested in this body. What is for me? You take a good plan to a corrupt politician, he will say, what is for me? You say it is for public, he said, but what is for me? That me is that ego. What is for me? When there is no me left, then there is no reference point actually. So the reference point of a sage is everyone or no one. In both ways, it is the same. When the ego wants to help someone, ego jumps to help and then post it on Facebook immediately or do something to gain that importance of that helping others also. But for awareness, who is other? There is no other. All is self. If that intuitiveness has to help something, the body will go and that might die also, but it will not claim that I have done some help to others. And if it has the way it has to, it might just pass away and it might not help anyone. But in both circumstances, it will not be guilty or taking credit. Understand it is very different from any egoistic mind. That type of state. State of awareness and state of mind are very different. State of mind will take a decision and then after 2 hours it will repent for that decision. And then after another 2 hours it will say, no, this was right. It contradicts itself. That is the nature of the mind. Awareness has no reference point to first prove it or then disprove it. It has no idea. It has no clue. Things just happens. It accepts things as they are. And that is the beauty, because it never makes you restless for any reason at any given situation, for anything. And that is why we call it bliss. Do you think with this restless mind you can have bliss? Just contemplate that awareness. Some people feel that they have to keep watching their thoughts. You can't watch. You don't have to watch. Thoughts comes and goes, but if there's no one to take those thoughts, they will start disappearing and faded and less weight, and they might be just like passing lighter clouds. They look heavy only when you have interest in them. But if you have no interest in them, there'll be nothing there. Or there might be some which has no value. Once you get this taste of witnessing, you cannot leave it. It is so. And the moment, if something very strong coming from your conditioned mind comes for which you get attached, you will start feeling that poison in you, like not a very good taste. Like You will not enjoy it. So you will leave it. And slowly and gradually, this you get so firmly established as this witnessing. Another example, if I can put forward to you, is this doership and non-doer. We always talk about Bhagavan's talks are full of this non-doer, non-doer. But we just take it as a concept and we never practice it. It is very easy to practice. At least easy to start, and then you will notice how what is coming in your way. When you think that you can make a change as a person in anything, small or big, internally, when you think, you are in that mode of your individuality as a person. You are working on that individual level as a manual mode. That yes, look, I can change the gears of this life, I can put clutch and brake and this. And when you sit in an electric car like Tesla, just press the button and just sit. Let it take where it wants to. Self-driven mode, auto mode, and your hands are like this in prayer. That is that non-doership. Now see where you are, how much you are in doer and how much you are in that. There is no correct word even to make anyone understand, but something somewhere, if it clicks into you and if you can start doing or behaving or abiding in that way, you have done it, or it will just finish it off. For some, it might be just a matter of a second, and some it might be a matter of 10 years or 15 years. It depends how much garbage we have already collected. It depends on how big collector we were. So if you're already living a very simple life, there is not much, there. So minimalist in the mind also. Then it is very, very easy. But if there are a lot of things, then it will take a lot of time. But it will happen. It will happen to everyone. You have to start wherever you are. Another important advice is that, let's say you understand, you do, but on one hand you are doing this or undoing this, and other side you are doing doership, and you're emptying the bucket and you're filling it up also. Then how will it happen? It's a one-way path of emptiness. Actually, these words explains themselves. Emptiness. With so many desires, how can you be empty, or attachments? Then where can be the emptiness or nothingness? When a person dies, what goes with that person? Can you see with your naked eyes? How subtle it is. But still, that carries a lot of weight, that mind, on this body at least. In this sthul sharira, all this weight, what we feel is of that mind, that ego. And what that awareness would be when even that what leaves the body you can't see. How subtle that could be. Okay. Just think about it. That one which leaves the body nobody sees. It's not like air, it's not felt. But what would be that which is not part of the matter, not part of this dream? What would be that? That light of consciousness. That is the source. And that the good news is that is what we all are. And the other good news is it is all achievable. It is that stillness in all this movement. Kabir says so beautifully, he says that chakki, where you ground wheat, in between those those two parts of that grinding machine, there is in the middle there is anvil, the middle part doesn't move. That middle part, if you are there, then you will not be crushed to death. Everything else gets crushed to death. If you stay in that stillness in your heart, then you are saved. It is so symbolic, it is so meaningful that in that stillness you survive, and in all this movement you disappear. So, who has found that stillness within? They will be spared. And that stillness happens in that witnessing. Only awareness can do this pure witnessing in us. And what this pure witnessing is doing is not involved in anything. Again, if you have doubts, go back to Bhagavan, his life. Though he was the one for whom whole the ashram was made and people used to visit, but he said he has no say who lives in ashram, who doesn't live in ashram. Uh, his ardent devotees were kicked out, but he was okay. He said, "That's good for you. You do go and practice outside. Live in Palaiko too. I'll come and I'll catch up with you." How beautiful. Uh, we are all so fortunate to be in times. Don't think we are unfortunate because he's not in body. We are fortunate that we had all his teachings and his lifetime stories, beautiful stories, all for us to keep correcting on our path of witnessing and keep practicing deeper and deeper. Bhagwan came not for us to make his devotees and just do japa and take his picture. He wants all us to be free. Oh, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you, everyone.